proud to have you this evening. Very pleased you could join us this evening for our closing night performance of The Importance of Being Earnest. I see some friendly faces, pretty sure, yeah, that's one. My name is Melissa Miller, I'm the director of this production, and I am super duper proud of the whole thing, I really am. Sometimes it's hard won. These kids have worked very, very hard. I worked hard, then Mrs. Healy's worked hard after she finished working hard on her other productions. We've all, it's always fun. The second show is always fun because we have a Thanksgiving break in the middle of our rehearsal period, and that kind of slows us down a little bit. So I always worry a little bit that we're going to get it all together. But they never let me down, they really don't. And I'm very proud of this cast and this crew for all of what they've put together for you tonight. And I'm sure you will be too. So, a couple of announcements before we begin. First off, Karma, wherever you are, I can't see.
She's right here.
Okay. Wherever you are, Karma, I can't sit with you tonight because I forgot my boyfriends.
Fine.
So, but you're sitting with friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, all right, so you're fine. Okay, second, Roger, I do need to know where you are.
I'm right behind her.
So Roger's going to film for us tonight because we'd like to have a record of the show, and I am neglectful of some things, and I forgot to set that up with somebody who has a camera and can do things like that for us. And so Roger is one of my students, and he is going to do his best to give us a passable video record of our production. So if you guys could, are you sure you want to sit behind Karma's head?
I have it zoomed in. It's perfect.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Karma,
I'm literally recording right now.
all right. I mean, the kids know best. So we'll be recording tonight. Also, if you are inclined to take photographs and you're quite the photographer, would you share those out with us? Because we would love to have photographs as well. And I know some of our guests have been taking photographs, and if you have been here in the past and have some good shots, please let us have those for posterity, because once again, I forgot to ask for a photographer for the show. We will do some shots this evening after the performance so that we can have group shots and things of that nature and some fun shots. But as far as show shots, we're going to rely on those of you with cameras. Please no flash photography though, because it does get distracting, not only to these guys, but also to others around you. I did have somebody in the house last night. If you're here again tonight, I apologize. I don't know who you are, so I'm not really calling you out, whoever you are. But they were eating in the house last night, and I kept hearing rattle, 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 rattle throughout the performance, and that's really obnoxious. So if you did plan to eat popcorn or pizza or burgers or whatever you brought and you're hiding under your seats tonight, please don't. First act is 40 minutes, and so you can go to the lobby and enjoy your food there if you brought anything to eat tonight. Second act is only about an hour. Second, third together, we do one intermission. And so I bet, if I were going to make a bet, that you can make it to intermission and then after the show without snacking. Because it does get distracting. And these guys, you know, they might look like polished Broadway superstars, but they're really just kids. And some of them are on the stage for the first time tonight. And noises of that nature do tend to distract them. So please refrain from those sorts of things. Please, we'd really appreciate it. Also, it tends to attract rodentia, and then the rodentia become part of our show, and then we get unnecessary screams from the crowd. You know how it goes. So we'll just avoid it altogether. If you have a cell phone and it hasn't been sent to silent yet, if you would please kindly take this moment to send your cell phones to silent so that it does not disturb the show, like someone last night who happened to be sitting next to me. Elijah. Oh my God. And I looked at him and I said, let's just see. I said, it happens every night. And I turned mine off. I said, it happens every night. Somebody doesn't turn the phone off. And it was him. He was right next to me. And he's a former student, so he knows better. What else? Restrooms tonight, thank goodness. They haven't barred us out of our own restrooms. So the restrooms on this side are available. If you do need the restroom before the intermission, please out that door, because I don't vouch for those on that side ever. And these, I think, are clean. I'll vouch a little for those. They should be ready for you. What else? If you do plan to record, please try to keep the brightness of your screens down so that they don't disturb the people behind you. And, any babies in the crowd? Any babies or children who might become upset? No? Oh, she's not that big. She's going to be fine. If she gets upset and starts crying, you let her calm down, and then you can bring her back. Okay?
think we've got everything, cell phones and all that, but just a note, the doors are loud, and so if you go out and you just kind of willy-nilly go, they bang really loud, and then we can't hear, and it's so weird. So just be gentle. When I go out, I just kind of softly close the door behind me. That one, thank goodness, squeals.
I fixed that.
Before he did earlier. Actually, I had Roger do it. So thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Roger was here. He was one of the culprits going through it. And he's like, it's really squeaky. So we fixed the squeak, but do still gently shut the door.
This door's heavy and it just bangs.
Oh, we gotta start all over. Somebody just got here. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our All right. Well, okay. Well, I think I've covered most of it, and it's time. We're having a party after. We're gonna do our usual meet and greet and say thank you for coming, and you can talk to your guys outside. Then we're gonna do some photos, and then we're gonna break down a little bit, clean up, and then we're gonna have a party. So please hang out and help us out with that if you don't mind. Without further ado, I'm a little squirrely tonight, guys. It's been a long couple of weeks. Yeah. Enjoy.
I don't play accurately. Anyone can play accurately, but I play with wonderful expression. As far as the piano is concerned, sentiment is my forte. Yes, sir. Oh, do you have the King of the Sandwiches cut for Lady Bracknell? Yes, sir. Oh. By the way, I see from your book that on Thursday night, when Lord Shulman and Mr. Worthing were dining with me, 8 bottles of champagne are to have been consumed. Yes, sir. 8 bottles of the night. Why is it that at a Baptist establishment, the servants invariably drink the champagne? I merely ask for information. I attribute it to the superior quality of wine, sir. I've often observed that in married households, the champagne is rarely a first-rate brand. Good heavens! Is man so demoralizing as that? I believe it is a very pleasant state, sir. I've had little experience of it myself up to the present. That was a misunderstanding between myself and the young person. I don't know that I'm much interested in your family, my Lane. Yes, sir. It's not very interesting at all. I never think of it myself. Very natural, I'm sure. That will do, Lane. Thank you. Yes, sir. Lane's views on marriage somewhat lax. Really, if the lower orders don't serve a good example, what on earth is the use of them? They see him as a class, they will have no sense of moral responsibility. Mr. Earnest Worthing. Oh! How are you, my dear Earnest? What brings you up to town?
Oh, pleasure, pleasure. What else should bring one anywhere? Eating as usual, I see outings.
I believe it is very good in good society. That's a slight refreshment at 5 o'clock. Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country.
What on earth do you do there?
When one is in town, one uses oneself. When one is in the country, one visits other people. It is excessively boring.
And who are the people you amuse?
Oh, neighbors.
Not like neighbors in your part Shropshire.
Perfectly horrid. Never speak to one of them.
How mentally you must amuse them. By the way, Shropshire is your county, is it not?
Shropshire? Yes, of course. Hello! Why all these cups? Shropshire cover sandwiches. Why such reckless extravagance in one so young? Who is coming to tea?
Merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolyn.
How perfectly delightful.
Yes, that's all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve of your being here.
May I ask why?
My dear fellow, the way you flirt with Gwendolyn is perfectly disgraceful. It almost as bad as Gwendolyn flirts with you.
I am in love with Gwendolyn. I've come up to town expressly to propose to her.
I thought you come up for pleasure. I call that business.
How utterly unromantic you are.
I don't see anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there's nothing romantic in proposing. Why, one may be accepted, one usually is, I believe, and the excitement is all over. If If I ever try to get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact.
No doubt about that, dear Algie. The divorce courts were specially invented for those whose memories are so curiously constituted.
There's no speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. Don't you touch cucumber sandwiches? Ordered specially for Augusta.
But you have been eating them all this time.
That's quite a different matter. She's my aunt. Here, have some bread and butter. Bread and butter's for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted bread and butter.
Very good bread and butter it is too.
My dear boy, you need not be as if going to eat it all. Behave as if you're married to her already. You're not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be.
May I ask why?
In the first place, girls don't marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think you're right.
That is nonsense.
It isn't. They count to the extraordinary number of bachelors one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent.
Your consent?
My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. If I allow you to marry her, you have to clear up the whole question of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algie, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name of Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoker the last time he dined here. Yes, sir.
Do you mean to tell me you've had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you'd let me know. I've been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward.
Well, I wish you would offer one. I'm more than usually hard up.
There's no point in offering a large reward now that thing is foul.
That is rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. However, as I look at the inscription inside, I find the thing isn't yours after all.
Of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. And you've no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Oh, it is absurd to have such a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. Modern thought and modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read.
Yes, I'm quite aware of that fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. The cigarette case is from a present from someone with the name of Cecily. And you said you didn't know anyone of the name.
Well, you must know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Yes, charming at least as she is too. With an Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algie.
Yes, but why does she call herself Little Cecily if she's your aunt who lives at Tunbridge Wells? From Little Cecily, her fondest love.
My dear Algie, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. Surely that's just a matter an aunt should be able to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That's absurd. For heaven's sake, give it back to me!
Yes, but why does she call you her uncle? From Little Cecily, her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack! There's no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt. But why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, call her own nephew her uncle? I can't quite make out. Besides, her name isn't Jack at all. It is Ernest.
It isn't Ernest. It's Jack.
You've always known it was Ernest. I introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. You are the most Ernest-looking person I ever saw in my life. It's perfectly absurd to say your name isn't Ernest. It's on one of your cards. Here it is. Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany. I'll keep this as a proof that your name is Ernest if you ever try to deny it to me, or to Gwendolyn, or to anyone else.
Oh, my name is Ernest in town, with Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but does not account for the fact that your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come, old boy, you better have the thing out at once.
My dear Algie, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. It's a very vulgar thing to talk like a dentist when isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression.
Well, that's just exactly what dentists always do. Now go on while you Ernest in town and Jack in the country. I may mention that I've always suspected you of being confirmed and secret Bunburyist. I'm quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by Bunburyist?
I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to tell me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
Well, produce my cigarette case first.
Here it is. make it probable.
Ah, my dear fellow, there's nothing improbable about my explanation at all. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle for motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the Albany under the cloud for admirable governess.
Where in that place of the country, by the way?
Oh, that is nothing to you, dear boy. You're not going to be invited. Though I may take candidate places not in Shropshire.
I suspected that, my dear fellow. I've bunburyed all over Shropshire on 2 separate occasions. Now, go on. Why are you Ernest the town and Jack in the country?
My dear boy, I don't know whether you'll be able to understand my real motives. You're hardly serious enough. When one is placed in a position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It's one's duty to do so. And since a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce to either one's health or happiness, I pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Earnest, who lives in the town and gets into the most dreadful things. That's, my dear Howard, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Modern life can be very tedious for either, and modern literature complete impossibility.
That wouldn't at all be a bad thing.
Literary criticism is not your forte. Go try it. You should leave that to the people who haven't been at a university. They do so well in daily papers. What you really are is a bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you're a bunburyist. You're one of the most advanced bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean by bunburyist?
You have invented yourself a very useful younger brother of the name of Earnest, that you're able to go to town as often as you like. I have invented myself a perfectly permanent invalid of the name of Bunbury, so I might be able to go down in the country as often as I like. Bunbury is a perfectly permanent invalid. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis tonight, for I've been really engaged on Augusta for more than a week.
I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight.
I know. You're absurdly careless if you're sending invitations. It's very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people as much as not receiving invitations.
You'd much better dine with me on Augusta.
I have the smallest intention of doing so. To begin with, I dine there on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. In second place, whenever I do dine there, I'm always treated as a member of the family, and sat down with no woman at all, or two. In the third place, I know perfectly well whom she'll place me next to tonight. She'll place me next to Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband at the dinner table. It's not pleasant. It's not even decent. That sort of thing's enormously on the increase. The amount of women who flirt with their own husbands is quite scandalous. It looks so bad. Simply washing one's own clean linen in public. Besides, now I know to you, Bunbury. I want to talk to you about Bunbury. I naturally want to tell you the rules.
I'm not a bunburyist at all. If Gwendolyn accepts me, I'll kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. Cecily's a little too much interested in him. It's rather bored. So I would get rid of Earnest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with your invalid friend with the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. If you ever get married, which seems to me to be extremely problematic, I'd be very glad to know Bunbury. Any man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it.
If Gwendolyn accepts me, and she's the only girl I would marry, I certainly wouldn't want to know Bunbury.
Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize in married life, 3 is company and 2 is none.
My dear boy, that is the corrupt French drama's ideal.
Yes, and the happy English home has proved it in half the time.
Don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical.
Nothing's easy to be cynical nowadays. There's such lots of beastly competition about it. How about the young Augusta? Only relatives, or creditors, will ever read in that Vulcanarian manner. Now, if I manage to get her out for about 10 minutes, so you have an opportunity that proposing to Gwendolyn. Why don't I dine with you at Willis's tonight?
I suppose so, if you want to.
Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about meals. It's so shallow of them.
Lady Bracknell, Miss Sharp.
Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you're behaving very well.
I'm feeling very well, Augusta.
That is not quite the same thing. In fact, the two things rarely go together.
Dear me, you're smart.
I'm always smart, and Am I not, Mr. Worthing?
You're quite perfect, Miss Fairfax.
Oh, I hope I'm not that. There leaves no room for development, and I seem to develop in many directions.
I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon. I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I had never seen a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me.
Certainly, Aunt Augusta.
Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolyn?
Thank you, Mamma. I'm quite comfortable where I am.
Lane, wild milk cucumber sandwiches. I ordered them specially.
There were no cucumbers on the market this morning, sir. I went down twice.
No cucumbers?
No, sir. Not even for ready money.
That'll do, Lane. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm greatly distressed about there being no cucumbers. Not even for ready money.
It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had crumpets with Lady Harbury, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now.
Yes, I hear her hair is in quite good degree.
It certainly has changed its colour. From what cause, of course, I cannot say. Thank you. I've quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I'm going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such an attentive woman to her husband, and so kind. It's delightful to watch them.
I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, that I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight.
Oh, hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that.
That is a great disappointment, I must say. But I had a telegram to say my poor friend Bunbury has fallen very ill again. I should be with him.
It is very strange, because Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad head.
Yes, poor Bunbury's a dreadful invalid.
Well, I must say, Algernon, I think that it is high time this Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd, nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy of invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I am always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take much notice as far as any improvement in his ailment goes. And I would be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has practically said whatever they have to say, which in most cases was probably not much.
I'll speak to Bunbury. If he is still conscious, I think he'll be alright by Saturday. And you know, the music is of great difficulty. You see, if one plays good music, people don't listen. And when one plays bad music, people don't talk. But I will run over the program as if you kindly go to the next room for a moment.
Thank you, Algernon. It is very thoughtful of you. I'm sure that the program will be delightful after a few expurgations. French songs I cannot possibly allow. People always seem to think them improper and either look shocked, which is vulgar, or laugh, which is worse. But German seems a thoroughly respectable language, and indeed I believe is so. Gwendolyn, you will accompany me.
Certainly, Mamma.
Charming day it's been, Miss Fairfax.
Pray, don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever people talk to me about the weather, I feel quite certain that they mean something else, and that makes me so nervous.
Yes, I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
I would like to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mamma has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
I've admired you more than any girl I've met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite well aware of the fact, and I often wish that in public, at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you've always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I've been far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals, the topic is constantly mentioned in the more expensively monthly magazine, and has reached the most provincial pulpits, I'm told. And my idea has always been to love someone with the name Earnest. There was something about that name that inspires absolute confidence. From the moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had a friend called Earnest, I knew I was destined to love you
You really love me, Gwendolyn.
passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy you've made me.
My own Earnest.
But you don't mean to say you couldn't love me if my name weren't Earnest.
But your name is Earnest.
Yes, but supposing it was something else, do you mean to say you couldn't love me then?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation, and like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference to the actual facts of real life, as we know them.
Well, really, Gwendolyn, to speak quite candidly, I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It is a divine name that has a music with owner produces vibrations.
Well, I think there are other much nicer names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack. No, there is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all indeed. It does not thrill, it produces absolutely no vibrations. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, have been more than usually plain. Besides, Jack has a notorious domesticity for the name John, and I pity any woman married to a man called John. She may probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The only really safe name is Earnest.
Well, Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must get married at once. There is no time to be lost.
Marriage, Mr. Worthing?
Well, yes. You know I love you, and you led me to believe you are not absolutely indifferent to me.
I adore you, but you have not proposed to me yet. Nothing has been said at all about marriage. The subject has not even been touched on.
Well, may I propose to you now?
I think it would be an admirable idea, and to spare you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it only fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I am fully determined to accept you.
Gwendolyn,
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
you know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Gwendolyn, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. How long have you been about it? I must say that I have very little experience in how to propose.
My own one, you're the only woman I've ever loved.
Yes, but men often propose for practice. I know my brother Gerald does. All my girlfriends tell me so. What wonderfully blue eyes you have. They are quite blue. I hope you always look at me like that, especially when there are other people present.
Mr. Worthing, rise, sir, from this semi-recumbent posture. It's most indecorous.
Mama, I beg you to retire. There's no place for you here. Besides, Mr. Worthing is not quite finished yet.
Finished what, may I ask?
I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mama.
Pardon me, you are not engaged to anyone. When you do become engaged to someone, I or your father, should his health permit him, will inform you of the fact. The engagement should come on a young girl as a surprise, pleasant or unpleasant, as the case may be. It is hardly a thing she could be allowed to do for herself. Now, Mr. Worthing, I have a few questions to put to you. Gwendolyn, while I am making these inquiries, you wait beneath the low in the carriage.
But Mama!
Gwendolyn in the carriage. Gwendolyn, the carriage!
Yes, Mama!
You may take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you're not down on my list of eligible young men. Although, I have the same list that the dear Duchess of Bolton has. We work together, in fact. However, I am quite ready to enter your name, should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear it. I do not approve of anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it, and the bloom is gone. The whole theory of modern education is practically unsound. Fortunately, in England, at any rate, education produces no effect whatsoever. If it did, it would prove a serious danger to the upper classes and probably lead to acts of violence in Grosvenor Square. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
Land or an investment?
An investment, chiefly.
That is satisfactory. But between the duties expected of one during one's lifetime and the duties exacted of one after one's death, land has ceased to be either a pleasure or a profit. It gives one position and prevents one from keeping it up. That's all that can be said about land.
I have a country house with some land, of course, attached to it about 1,500 acres, I believe. However, I don't depend on that for my real income. In fact, as far as I can make out, the poachers are the only ones that can make anything of it.
A country house? How many bedrooms? Well, that point can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolyn can hardly be expected to reside in the country.
I have a house in Belgrave Square. It is let by the year to Lady Bloxham. However, I can get it back whenever I'd like. In 6 months' notice.
Lady Bloxham? I don't know her.
Yes, she goes about very little. She's lady considerably advanced in years.
Ah, nowadays that is no guarantee of respectability of character. What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. Thought there was something. However, that can be easily altered.
The fashion or the side?
Both necessary, I presume. What are your politics?
I'm afraid I really have none. I am a liberal unionist.
Oh, they count as Tories. They dine with us or come in the evening at any rate. Now, to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I've lost both of my parents.
Lose one parent, Mr. Worthing. It can be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth. Was he born in what the radical papers call the purple of commerce, or did he rise from the ranks of the aristocracy?
I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I've said I've lost both of my parents. It'd be near the truth to say that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't really know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
Yes. The late Mr. Thomas Cardew, an old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition, found me and gave me the name of Worthing, because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It is a seaside resort.
Where did this charitable gentleman who had a first-class ticket to the seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes. A somewhat large black leather handbag with handles on it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
In what locality did this Mr. James, Thomas find you in this ordinary handbag?
In a cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
Cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes. The right in line.
The line is immaterial. Mr. Worthing, I must confess I feel somewhat bewildered by what you just told me. To be born a tenement bred in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that reminds one of one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to? As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion. It has probably indeed been used for that purpose until now, but it can hardly be regarded as an assured basis of a recognized position in good society.
Then may I ask what you would advise me to do? I need hardly to say I'll do anything in the world to ensure Gwendolyn's happiness.
I would strongly advise you, Mr. Worthing, to try and acquire some relations as soon as possible, and make a definite effort to produce at any rate one parent of either sex before the season is quite over.
I don't see how I could possibly manage to do that. I can produce the handbag at any moment. It is in my cloakroom at home. I really think this to satisfy you, Lady Bracknell.
Me, sir? What has it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that Lord Bracknell and I would dream of allowing our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, to marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Good morning.
Did it all go off alright, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolyn refused you? I know the way she has. She's always refusing people. It's most ill nature of her.
Gwendolyn is as right as a trivet. As far as she is concerned, we are engaged. Her mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I don't really know what a gorgon is like, but I'm quite sure Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she's a monster, without being a myth, which is rather unfair. I beg your pardon, dear Algie. I don't mean to talk about your own aunt that way before you.
But I love hearing my relations abused. What's up with them at all? Relations are a very tedious pack of people who haven't the remotest idea on how to live, nor the smallest instinct about when to die. It isn't.
I once argued with you about the matter. You always want to argue about things.
That's what things were originally made for.
Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. Oh, you don't think Gwendolyn will become like her mother in about 150 years, do you?
All would become like her mother. That's not judging. No, mine does. That is.
Is that clever?
It's perfectly phrased, as any observation in civilized life should be.
Sick to death of cleverness. Everybody's clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
Oh, I would extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? Oh, well, the clever people, of course.
What fools?
By the way, have you told Gwendolyn about your being earned in town in Jack Country?
The truth isn't quite the sort of thing one tells a nice, sweet, refined girl like Gwendolyn. What extraordinary ideas you have on how to behave to a woman.
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she's pretty, and to someone else if she's plain.
Nonsense.
What about your brother? What was the problem to get Earnest?
I would have gotten rid of him by the end of the week. I'll say he died suddenly in Paris by apoplexy. A lot of people die of apoplexy quite suddenly, don't they?
Yes, but it's a hereditary, my dear fellow. It's the sort of thing that runs in families. You better say a severe chill.
Are you sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of that kind?
Of course it isn't.
Very well then. I'll say my poor brother Ernest got carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
Yes, but you said Cecily was too much interested in him. Won't she feel he's lost a good deal?
So, that is all right. Cecily isn't a silly romantic girl. She has a very capitalist appetite, goes long walks, and pays no attention to her classes whatsoever.
I'd rather like to see Cecily.
I'll take very good care you never do. She's excessively pretty and she's only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn about your excessively pretty ward who's only just 18?
Oh, one doesn't just blurt these things out to people. Cecily and Gwendolyn are sure to be great friends. I'll bet you anything in the first half hour they'll be calling each other sister.
Women only do that when they have told each other lots of other things first. Now, we must get a good table on Willis's tonight. We must go and dress. Do you know it's nearly 7?
It is always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What shall we do after that? Go to a theater?
Oh no, I love listening.
Well, let's go to the club.
Oh no, I hate talking.
Let us trot around the Empire to 10.
Oh no, I hate looking at things. It's so silly.
Then what shall we do?
Nothing.
It's awfully hard work doing nothing. I don't mind hard work if there's no definite object of any kind.
Miss
Gwendolyn, upon my word.
Algie, kindly turn your back. I have something very particular to say to Mr. Worthing.
Gwendolyn, I cannot allow this.
Algie always adopt a strictly immoral attitude towards life. You're not quite, will never do that.
Gwendolyn.
Ernest, we may never be married. From the look of Mamma's face, I fear we never shall. Few parents pay any regard to what their children have to say. The old-fashioned respect for the young is fast dying out. Any influence on becoming man and wife, and I may marry someone else and marry often, there is nothing that she can possibly do to alter my eternal devotion to you.
Darling,
How long do you remain in town?
till Monday.
Good. The story of your romantic origin, as related to me by Morale with unpleasing comments, has naturally stirred the deeper fibers of my nature. Your Christian name has an irresistible fascination. The simplicity of your character makes you exquisitely incomprehensible to me.
My own.
Oh, your town address is there. Happily I have. What is your address in the country?
Oh, the manor. Woolton, Hertfordshire.
There's a good postal service, I suppose. It may be necessary to do something desperate. That, of course, will require serious consideration. I will communicate with you daily.
My own.
Alfie, you may turn around now.
Thanks, I've turned around already.
You may also ring the bell.
I'll see you to your carriage, darling.
Certainly.
I'm going to see Miss Fairfax out.
That's Shirley. Yes, sir. Tomorrow then I'm going thundering.
Yes, sir.
I shall not probably be back till Monday. You should put up my dress clothes, my smoking jacket, and all the Bunbury suits.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow then will be a fine day.
It never is, sir.
Lane, you are a perfect pessimist.
I do my best to give satisfaction, sir. There's a sensible, intellectual girl, and the only woman I'll ever care for. What on earth are you so amused at?
Oh, I'm just anxious about poor Bunbury is all.
If you don't take care, your friend Bunbury will get you into a serious scrape someday.
Oh, I love scrapes. They are the only things that are never serious.
That's just nonsense. You never talk anything but nonsense.
Nobody ever does.
It's quite important that over water these flowers, the soil must be moist with God's heart.
How I love roses.
They're my particular favorite. Were you aware, child, that the color of the wool determines its deeper meaning?
Yeah.
Indeed. For example, a red rose represents love, a white rose represents innocence, and this. This is for friendship.
Oh, Cecily!
Oh, dear.
Cecily, surely such a utilitarian occupation as the watering of flowers is rather Morton's duty than yours, especially at a moment when intellectual pleasures await you. Your German grammar is on the table. Pray open it to page 15. We will repeat yesterday's lesson.
But I don't like German. It isn't at all a becoming language. I know perfectly well that I look quite plain after my German lesson.
Child, you know how anxious your guardian is that you should improve yourself in every way. He laid particular stress on your German as he was leaving for town yesterday. He always lays stress on your German when he is leaving for town.
Uncle Jack is so very serious. Sometimes he's so serious, I think he'd not be quite well.
Your guardian enjoys the best of health, and his gravity of demeanor is especially to be commended when so comparatively young as he is. I know no one who has a higher sense of duty and responsibility.
I suppose that's why he often looks a little bored with you together.
Oh, Cecily, I am surprised at you. Your guardian has many troubles in his life. Idle merriment and triviality would be out of place in this conversation. You must remember his constant anxiety about that unfortunate young man, his brother.
I wish Uncle Jack and brother unfortunate young man's brother come down here sometime. We might have a good influence over him, Miss Prism. You certainly would. You know German and geology and the things of that kind influence a man very much.
I do not think that even I could produce any effect that on a character that, according to his own criticism, is irretrievably weak and vacillating. Indeed, I'm not sure that I would decide to reclaim him. I'm not in favor of this modern mania of turning bad people into good people at a moment's notice. As many sows, so let him reap. Oh, you must put away your diaries, dear Cecily. I really don't see if you should keep a diary at all.
I keep a diary of autumn into the wonderful secrets of my life. If I didn't write them down, I should surely forget all about them.
Memory, my dear Cecily, is a diary we all carry about with us.
Yes, but it usually chronicles the things that have not happened and could never have happened. I believe memory is responsible for nearly all of the long novels, movies, and songs.
Do not speak slightingly of the 3-volume novels. I wrote one myself in earlier days.
Did you really, Miss Prism? How wonderfully clever you are. I hope it's not as happily. I don't like novels that end happily because it costs me so much.
The good ended happily and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means.
I suppose so, but it does seem rather unfair. Was your novel published?
Oh, alas! No. The manuscript, unfortunately, was abandoned. I use the word in a sense of lost or mislaid. To your work, child. These speculations are profitless.
But I see dear Dr. Chasuble coming up to the garden.
Oh! Dr. Chasuble! This is indeed a pleasure.
And how are we this morning? Miss Prism, you are, I trust, well. Miss Prism has just been complaining of a slight headache. I think it would do her so much good to take a short stroll from the park, Dr. Chasuble.
Cecily, I have not mentioned anything about a headache.
No, dear Miss Prism, I know that, but I felt instinctively that you had one. Indeed, I was thinking of that, not of my German lessons, when the rector came in. Cecily, I hope you are not inattentive. I'm afraid I am. That is strange. Were I fortunate enough to be Miss Prism's pupil, I would hang upon her lips. I speak metaphorically. My metaphor is drawn from peace. But where is Mr. Wayne?
We do not expect him until Monday afternoon.
Ah, yes. He usually likes to spend his Sunday in London. He is not one of those whose sole aim is enjoyment, as by all accounts that unfortunate young man his brother seems to be. But I must not disturb Egeria and her pupil any longer.
Egeria? My name is Letitia, Doctor.
A classical allusion merely, drawn from pagan authors. I shall see you both next time at evensong.
Yes. I think, dear Doctor, I will have a stroll with you. I find I have a headache after all, and a walk might do it good.
Perfectly. I'd like to go as far as the schools and back.
Oh, that would be delightful. Cecily! You will read your political economy in my absence. The chapter on the fall of the rupee you may omit. It is somewhat too sensational. Even these metallic problems have their melodramatic side.
Horrid political economy, horrid geography, horrid German.
And Mr. Earnest Worthing has just driven over from the station. He's brought his luggage with him.
Mr. Ernest Worthing, Beesball, the Albany West. Uncle Jack's brother. Did you tell him Mr. Worthing was in town?
Yes, miss. He seemed very much disappointed. I mentioned that you and Miss Prism were in the garden. He was anxious to speak with me privately for a moment.
Ask Mr. Ernest Worthing to come out here. And I suppose you'd like to talk to the housekeeper about your room for him? I have never met any really wicked person before. I feel rather frightened. I'm so afraid of everyone else. He does.
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You must be under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I am more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily. And you, I see from your card, are Jack's brother. My cousin Ernest. My wicked cousin Ernest.
I'm not wicked at all. You mustn't think that I'm wicked.
If you're not, then you certainly be deceiving us all in a very inexcusable manner. I hope you've not rich anything, being really good for the time. That would be hypocrisy.
Oh, of course, I've been rather reckless.
I'm glad to hear it.
Now you mention the subject, I've been very bad in my own small way.
I don't think you should be so proud of that, though I'm sure it must have been very pleasant.
It is much pleasanter being here with you.
I can't understand you here at all. Uncle Jack will be back till Monday afternoon.
Oh, that is a great disappointment. For I've been obliged to go by the first train on Monday morning. I have a business appointment that I am anxious to miss.
Couldn't you miss it anywhere but London?
No, the appointment is in London.
Oh, of course. I know how important it is not to meet the business occasion if one wants to retain any sense of beauty of life. But still, I think you should let Uncle Jack about it.
About my what?
You're immigrating. You can also buy your outfits.
Oh, I certainly would have let Jack find out. He has made no taste of things and neckties at all.
I don't think you will be requiring any neckties. Uncle Jack is sending you to Australia.
Australia! I'd sooner die.
Well, he said at dinner on Wednesday night you'd have to choose between this world and the next world in Australia.
Oh, the accounts of the next world and Australia is not particularly encouraging. This was good enough for me, Cousin Cecily.
Yes, you good enough for it.
Oh, I'm afraid not. I'm not that. That is why I want you to inform me. You might make that your mission, won't you, Cousin Cecily?
I'm afraid I'm no time this afternoon.
Well, would you mind me performing myself this afternoon?
That is rather Republican, so I think you should try.
I will. I feel better already.
You are looking a little worse.
That is because I'm hungry.
Oh, goodness me. I should remember that one is living an entirely new life, one requires regular wholesome meals. Won't you come in?
Might I have a buttonhole first? I never have an appetite unless I have a buttonhole first.
A Mauritania.
No, I'd sooner have a pink rose.
Why?
Because you're like a pink rose, Cousin Cecily.
I don't think you should say such things to me. Miss Prism never does.
Then Miss Prism is a short-sighted old lady. You're the prettiest girl I ever saw.
Miss Prisms are all good looks are a snare.
They are a snare that every sensible man might be caught in.
I shouldn't like to catch a sensible man. I wouldn't know what to talk to him about.
Oh, you are too much alone, dear Dr. Chasuble. Oh, you should get married. A Mrs. Thorpe I can understand, a woman Thorpe never.
I don't believe that controversies and the practice of the primitive church was distinctly against matrimony.
Oh, that's exactly why the primitive church has not lasted up to the present day. And you come to realize, dear Doctor, that by persistently remaining single, a man converts himself into a permanent public temptation. Men should be more careful. This man is a weakness as a strength.
But is a man not equally as attractive when married?
Oh, no married man is ever attractive. Except to his wife.
Not that I've been told, nothing to her.
Oh, that depends on the intellectual sympathies of the women. Maturity can always be depended on. Ripeness can be trusted. Young women are green. I spoke horticulturally. My metaphor was drawn from fruits. But where is Cecily?
Perhaps she followed us through the schools.
Mr. Worthing? Mr. Worthing? This is indeed a surprise. We did not look for you till Monday afternoon.
Yes, I've returned to an unexpected nothing casual. I hope you're all well. My brother.
More shameful tests and extravagance.
Leading his life of pleasure.
Dead.
Oh!
Your brother Ernest dead.
Quite dead.
What a lesson for him. I trust you will profit by it.
I love you, my sincere condolence. You at least have the consolation of knowing you are always the most generous and forgiving of brothers.
My poor brother Ernest. He had many faults, but this is a sad blow.
Very sad indeed. Were you with him?
No. He died abroad. In Paris, in fact. I got a telegram from the manager of the Grand Hotel last night.
Cause of death and mention.
very chill, it seems.
As a man sows, so shall he reap.
Charity, Miss Prism, charity. None of us are perfect. I myself am peculiarly susceptible to drafts. Will the interment take place here?
No, he seemed to express a desire to be buried in Paris.
In Paris! I feel like I go to any serious state of mind at the last. You no doubt wish me to make some slight allusion to this tragic domestic affliction next Sunday. My sermon on the meaning of manna in the wilderness can be adapted to almost any occasion, joyful, or as in the present case, distressing. I've preached it at harvest celebrations, christenings, confirmations, on days of humiliation, and festal days. The last time I delivered it was in the cathedral, on behalf of the Society for the Prevention against Discontent among the Upper Orders. The bishop who was present was quite struck by some of the analogies I drew.
You mentioned christenings, I think, Dr. Chaswell. I suppose it means you're christening all right. I mean, you're continually christening, aren't you?
It is, I regret to say, one of the rector's most constant duties in this parish. I have often spoken to the poorer classes on the subject, but they don't seem to know what thrift is.
But is there a particular infant in whom you are interested, Mr. Worthing? Your brother was unmarried, was he not?
Oh, yes, yes.
People who live entirely for pleasure usually are.
But this is not for any child, good doctor. I'm quite fond of children. No, the fact is, I would like to christen myself this afternoon, if that is okay with you.
Oh, perfectly. The sprinkling, indeed, the immersion of adults is a perfectly canonical practice.
Immersion?
You need have no apprehension. The sprinkling is all that is necessary, and indeed, I think advisable. Our weather is so changeable. At what hour would you wish to
Oh, I might trot around at about 5, if that would suit you.
Perfectly, perfectly. In fact, I have two similar ceremonies to perform at that time. A case of twins that occurred on one of the outlying cottages on your own estate. Oh, Jenkins' departure, most hard-working man.
Oh, I don't see much fun in being christened along with other babies. It would be childish. Would 5:30 do?
Admirably, admirably. Now, dear Mr. Worthing, I will not intrude into a house of sorrow any longer. I would merely beg you to be not too much bowed down in my grief. What seem to us bitter trials are often blessings in disguise.
This seems to me a blessing of an extremely obvious kind.
Uncle Jack, I'm pleased to see you back.
What horrid clothes you got on. Do you change them, Cecily?
My child, my child.
What's the matter? Do look happy. You look as if you had a toothache. And what surprise I have for you. Who do you think's in the dining room? Your brother.
Who?
Your brother Ernest. You're about half an hour ago.
Oh, this is nonsense. I haven't got a brother.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. You couldn't be as heartless as his own now, could you? I will go get him, and you will shake hands with him, won't you?
These are very joyful tidings.
And we've all been assigned to his loss. His sudden return seems to me peculiarly distressing.
My brother Ernest is in the dining room. I don't know what it all means. I think it perfectly absurd. Good heavens.
Brother John, I came up from town to expressly tell you that I'm very sorry for all the troubles I have caused you, and I intend to leave a better life in the future.
Uncle Jack, you will shake hands with Ernest, won't you?
Nothing will induce me to take his head. I think it's coming down here disgraceful. He knows perfectly well why.
Uncle Jack, do be nice. There's some good in everyone. Ernest has just been telling me about his poor invalid friend, Mr. Bunbury, whom he goes to visit so often, and there must be good blood in this kind of invalid. He has the pleasures of London to sit by a bed of pain.
He's been telling you about Bunbury, has he?
Yes, he's told me all about poor Mr. Bunbury and his terrible state of health.
Well, once I will talk to you about Bunbury or about anything else, it's enough to drive her perfectly frantic.
Of course, I admit the faults were all on my side, but I think Brother John's coldness to me is still peculiarly painful. I'll be welcomed by an enthusiastic welcome, especially since it's the first time I came here.
Uncle Jack, if you don't shake hands with Ernest, I will never forgive you.
Never forgive me?
Never, never, never.
Well, this is the last time I shall ever do it.
Pleasant is it not to see such a perfect reconciliation? I think we should leave the two brothers together.
Cecily, you will come with us?
Certainly. My little task of reconciliation is over. It's a beautiful action you've done today, child.
We must not be premature in our judgments.
I feel very happy.
Abby, you scoundrel! You've got to get out of here. I don't allow any Bunbury here.
luggage?
Yes, sir. 3 portmanteaus, but just in case, 2 hat boxes and a large luncheon basket.
I'm afraid I can't stay more than a week this time.
Merriman, order the dog cart at once. Mr. Earnest has suddenly been called back to town.
Yes, sir.
What a fearful liar you are, Jack. I haven't been called back to town at all.
Yes, you have.
I haven't heard anyone call me.
Your duty as a gentleman calls you back.
My duty as a gentleman has never interfered in my pleasures in the smallest degrees.
I can quite understand that.
Well, Cecily, darling.
You're not to speak of Miss Cardew like that. I don't like it.
Why do you like your clothes? You look perfectly ridiculous in them. Go and change them. It is very childish to be in deep mourning for someone who's actually staying with guests in your house for a week. I call that grotesque.
Well, I won't have you stay in my house as a guest for anything else. You've got to leave on a full-flight train.
I wouldn't leave you as you are in mourning. I suppose you would stay with me if I was in mourning. I'd be very unkind if you didn't.
Well, will you go if I change my clothes?
Yes, but this is too long. I've never seen anyone take so long to dress, but have such little result.
Well, it's better than being always as overdressed as you are.
If I am occasionally overdressed, I make up for it by being immensely overeducated.
Your vanity is ridiculous. Your conduct is outrageous. Your presence in my garden is utterly absurd. However, you've got to leave by the 4:05. And I hope you have a pleasant journey back to town. This fundraiser you caused is not for the great success.
I think it's been a great success for me. I'm in love with Cecily, and that is everything. However, I must see her before I go, and make arrangements for another fundraiser. There she is.
Oh, I really think that's wrong, Roses. I thought you were with Uncle Jack.
He's going to order the dog cart for me.
Is he going to take you for a nice drive?
He's going to send me away.
Then have you got the part?
I'm afraid so. It's a very painful party.
It is always painful to part from one you just met. The absence of old friends will injure equanimity, but even a momentary separation with anyone you respect is almost unbearable.
Thank you.
The dog cart is ready at the door, sir.
It can wait, madam, for 5 minutes.
Yes.
I cannot offend you, Cecily, if I say quite frankly and openly. But I must say you are the absolute personification of absolute perfection.
Your frankness is your great head, Simon. If you allow me, I'll put some marks on my diary.
You really have a diary? I do really need to look at it. May I?
No, simply the other my own thoughts and questions. Consequently, this publication. When it comes out in volume form, I hope you'll order a copy. But pray don't stop, Ernest. I delight in taking down the dictation. I reached absolute perfection, so you may go on. Pray don't cough, Ernest. When one is dictating, one should speak fluently and not cough. Besides, I don't know how to spell cough.
Cecily, ever since I looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I have dared to say I love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I don't think you should tell me you love me wildly, passionately, hopelessly, devotedly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
The dog cart is waiting at the door, sir.
Tell her come around the same hour next week.
Yes, sir. Uncle Jack would not be pleased to hear you saying on the same hour next week.
Oh, I don't care about Jack. I don't care for anybody in the whole world but you, Cecily. I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, I've been engaged past the
For the last 3 months.
Yes, it'll be 3 months as of Thursday.
But how are we engaged?
Well, ever since Uncle Jack confessed to us that he had a brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have been the chief topic of conversation between myself and Miss Prism, and a man who was very much talked about was always very attractive. I dare say I fell in love with Earnest.
But how was the engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last, when I lay your tired ignorance of my existence, after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you under this dear old tree here. And the next day, I bought this little ring and bangle that true love is not wanted, but I promise you always to wear.
Did I give you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes, you wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It is the excuse I've always given you for leading such a bad life. And in this box, I took your dear letters.
My letters? I have never written you any letters.
You'd hardly remind me of that. I remember it only too well that you wrote your letters for me. I wrote 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Oh, do let me read them.
I couldn't possibly. They make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote to me after I wrote on the days were so peaceful and so badly spelled that even now I can hardly read them for fine whistle.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Yes, on the 22nd of last March.
Cecily, I'm very hurt indeed to say you've broken off the engagement, particularly when the weather was so charming.
It would have hardly been a really serious engagement if we were not broken off in 6 months, but I forgave you before the week was out.
What a perfect angel you are, Cecily.
You dear romantic boy. I like your hair so much. I hope it curls naturally.
Yes, with a little help from others.
I'm so glad to hear it. Now there is the question of your name. You must not laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone with the name Earnest. I pity any poor married woman whose husband is not called Earnest.
But you don't mean to say that you couldn't love me if I had some other name?
What other name?
Oh, any name you like. Algernon, for instance.
But I don't like the name of Algernon.
Then why would you object to the name of Algernon? It's not at all a bad name. In fact, it's a rather aristocratic name. Half of the chaps who get to bankruptcy court are called Algernon. But seriously, Cecily, my name was Algie. Couldn't you love me?
I might respect you, Ernest, and must admire your character, but I cannot give you my full undivided attention.
Your rector here is truly experienced in all the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Dr. Tonsable is a most learned man. He has never written books. You can only imagine how much he knows.
I have to be on most important christening.
Oh?
I mean, most important business. I shan't be away for half an hour.
Since we've been engaged since the 14th of February last, and we've only met today, I find it rather hard to leave me for so long for curious half an hour. Couldn't you make it 20 minutes?
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I think I shall write his proposal down in my diary.
Miss Fairfax just called Mr. Worthing on very important business, she said.
Is it Mr. Worthing in his library?
Mr. Worthing left in the direction of the rectory some time ago.
Pray ask the lady to come out it. Mr. Worthing is sure to not be long. And you can bring tea.
Yes.
Miss Fairfax must be one of the elderly women associated with Uncle Jack in his philanthropic work in London. I don't quite like women who are interested in philanthropic work. They're so very forward of them.
Miss Fairfax.
Pray, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew? What a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be great friends. I like you more than I can really say. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you like me after you've known each other such a comparatively short time. Pray sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
And that is all quite settled then, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps it may be a favorable opportunity of my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You've never heard of Papa, I suppose?
I don't think so.
Well, outside of the family circle, Papa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that it's quite as it should be. The home seems to be the proper sphere for the man, and certainly once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he can painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that, at least none so very attractive. Cecily, Mama, whose views in education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. So, do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Oh, not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh, no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also?
Oh, no, I have no mother nor fact any relations.
Indeed.
My dear guardian, the assistant of his prison has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh, it is very strange he never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How secretive of him. He grows more interested hourly. I'm not sure how the news inspired me with doing an unmixed delight. I'm very fond of you, Cecily. I've loved you ever since I met you. But I'm bound to state that now I know you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help but expressing the wish that you were, well, just a little older than you seem to be, and not quite so very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Pray to you, Gwendolyn. I think no one has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
But to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honor. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the influence of physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, has supplied me with many most painful examples of what I was saying. If we were not quite so, well, history would be quite unbelievable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but is not Mr. Ernest Worthing was your guardian? His brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned that he had a brother.
I'm sorry to say they've not been on good terms for a long time.
Ah, that accounts for it. And now that I think of it, I've never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful for most men. Cecily, you have lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would be terrible if any cloud could come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course, you are quite sure it is not Mr. Earnest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure, in fact.
I'm going to be his. I beg your pardon.
Well, there's a reason why I should make a secret effort to you, Gwendolyn. Our little county newspaper short chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My dear Cecily, I feel there might be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday. At the latest,
there must be some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It is certainly very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. So I'm so sorry, dear Cecily, if it is any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I'm crying.
It distresses me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if it has caused you any physical or mental anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor boy should have trapped himself into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty at once to rescue him, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I will never reproach him with him after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than one's moral duty to speak their mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you? This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I'm glad to say I've never seen a spade. It is obvious that our social spades have been widely different.
Shall I make the tea here, Yes, as usual.
Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Yes, a great many. In fact, from one of the hills quite close, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden you have here, Miss Cardew.
I'm so glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I didn't know there were any flowers in the country.
Flowers are as common here, Miss Fairfax, as people are in London.
Personally, I do not understand how anybody manages to exist in the country, and anybody who is anybody does. The country always bores me to death.
This is what the newspapers are calling an agricultural depression, is it not? I believe the aristocracy are suffering very much from it at present. It is almost an epidemic amongst them, or so I am told. May I offer you some tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl, but I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar isn't fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is rarely seen at the best houses nowadays.
Hand that to Miss Fairfax.
You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar, and though I asked most distinctly for bread and butter, you have given me cake! I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my nature. But I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no links to which I would not go.
From the moment I met you, I distrusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful. I've never been deceived in such manners. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
No doubt, Miss Fairfax, and I am trespassing your valuable time. No doubt you have many other calls of a similar character to make in the neighborhood.
Ernest, my own Ernest.
Darling.
A moment. Can you tell me if you are engaged to be married to this young lady?
Cecily, to good heavens, no. Oh, who could put such an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you. You may.
I knew there must be some misconception. The gentleman whose arm is present round your waist, my guardian, Mr. John Worthing.
I beg your pardon?
This is Uncle Jack.
Jack! Oh.
Here is Ernest.
My own love.
A moment. May I ask, are you engaged to this young lady?
To what young lady? Good heavens, Gwendolyn!
Yes, to good heavens. I mean, to Gwendolyn.
What could have an idea into your pretty little head?
Thank you.
I thought there might be some slight error, Miss Cardew, but the gentleman who is now embracing you is my cousin, Mr. Algernon Moncrief.
Algernon Moncrief. Are you called Algernon?
I cannot deny it.
Is your name really? Jack.
Deny it if I'd like. I could deny anything if I'd like. But my name is certainly John. It has been for years.
A gross deception to put on the both of us.
My poor wounded Cecily.
My sweet wronged Gwendolyn.
You will call me sister, will you not? Oh!
There's just one question I would like to be allowed to miss my guardian.
An excellent idea. Mr. Worthing, there is one question I would like to be permitted to put to you. Where is your brother Ernest? We are both engaged to be married to your brother Ernest, so it is of some importance for us to know where your brother Ernest is at present.
Gwendolyn, Cecily, it's very painful for me to be forced to speak the truth. And it is the first time in my life I've ever been reduced to such a painful position. However, I have no brother Earnest. I've never had a brother Earnest, and I certainly intend to never have a brother Earnest. Not even of any kind.
No brother at all.
None.
No brother, any kind?
This is not a pleasant position for a young girl to find herself in, is it?
Let us go to the house. They will hardly venture after us there.
No, men are so cowardly, aren't they?
This ghastly state of things is what you call bunburying, I suppose.
Yes! And a wonderful bunbury it is. The most wonderful bunbury I ever had in my life.
Well, you've no right whatsoever to bunbury here.
That's absurd. One has a right to bunbury anywhere one chooses. Every serious bunburist knows that.
Good heavens.
But one must be serious about something if he wants to have any amusement in life. I happen to be serious about bunbury. Or if you're serious, I haven't got the such an absolutely trivial nature.
Well, the only small satisfaction that gets out of this whole wretched business is that your friend Bunbury is quite exploded. He won't be able to run down to the country quite so often as you used to, and a very good thing, too.
Your brother is a little off-color, isn't he, dear Jack? He won't be able to go to London as quite as frequently as your wedding custom was. And not a bad thing either.
As for your conduct towards Miss Cardew, I'd say you're taking in a sweet, simple, innocent girl like that who's quite inexcusable. To say nothing of the fact that you're unborn.
I did no harm to this thing, and you're deceiving a brilliant, clever, thoroughly experienced young lady like Miss Fairfax. To say nothing of the fact that she is my cousin.
Well, you're certainly not be marrying Miss Cardew.
And there's not much likelihood, Jack, of you and Miss Fairfax have been united.
Well, that's certainly no business of yours.
If it was my business, I would talk about it. It's very bold to talk about one's business. Only people like stockbrokers do that, and merely at dinner parties.
How you can sit there, calmly eating muffins while we're in this horrible trouble, I can't quite make out. You seem to me to be perfectly heartless.
Well, what can eat in an agitated manner? But no problem get on my cards. Besides, one should always eat muffins twice so calmly. It's the only way to eat them.
I said it perfectly heartless to eat muffins at all under the circumstances.
When I'm in trouble, it is the only thing that consoles me. As anyone who knows me intimately will tell you, I refuse everything except food and drink. At the present moment, I am eating muffins because I am unhappy.
I said it perfectly heartless to eat muffins at all.
I wish you had some tea cake.
Well, good heavens. I suppose man may eat his own muffins in his own garden.
Well, you just said it was perfectly heartless to eat muffins.
I said it perfectly heartless of you under the circumstances. That is a very different thing.
That may be the muffins are the same.
Algy, oh, for goodness, you would go.
You can't possibly ask me to go if I'm having some dinner. It's absurd. No one goes out dinner except vegetarians and people like that. Besides, I just made arrangements with Dr. Chasuble to be christened at the quarter sick under the name of Earnest.
My dear fellow, the sooner you give up that nonsense, the better. I have made arrangements this morning with Dr. Chasuble to be christened myself at 5:30, and I would naturally take the name of Earnest. Gwendolyn would wish it. We can't both be christened Earnest. That would be absurd. Besides, I have a perfect right to be christened if I'd like. There is no evidence whatsoever I've been christened by anybody. I should think it extremely probable I never was, and so does Dr. Chasuble. This is entirely different in your case. You have been christened already.
Yes, I haven't been christened in years.
Yes, but you have been christened. That is the important thing.
Why so? So I know my constitution can stand it. If you're not quite sure that you're ever in prison, I think it's rather dangerous you're venturing on it now. It might make you very unwell. You can hardly have forgotten that someone very closely connected with you was very nearly carried off this week in Paris by a severe chill.
Yes, but you said yourself that a severe chill isn't hereditary.
It used to be, but I dare say it is now. Scientists are always making wonderful improvements in things. Jack, you're at the muffins again. I wish you wouldn't. They're only too late. Besides, I told you I was particularly fond of muffins.
I hate tea cake.
Well, why on earth do you allow your guests to have tea cake? What a great idea to see how far hospitality.
Algernon, I wish to goodness you would go. I don't want you here. Why won't you go?
I haven't quite finished my tea yet. Besides, there's one muffin left.
The fact that they did not follow us at once into the house as anyone else would have done seems to me to have some sense of shame left.
Sharing the muffins, it looks like a compliment us.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Could you cough?
But they haven't got a car.
Oh, but look at us. What effrontery.
Their function is very important to them.
Let's preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly, is the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to be entirely lacking the fact.
A most distasteful one. Mr. Moncrief kindly answered me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
So I might have an opportunity of meeting you.
That certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear. If you can believe him.
I don't. But it does not change the simple beauty of his answer.
True, in matters of great wit style, not sincerity is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might come up to town to see me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the greatest doubt upon the subject, but I tend to crush them. This is not a moment for German skepticism. The answers seem to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. It seems to me to have the traffic of truth.
Mr. Moncrief was alone about with absolute security.
So, you think we should...
Yes, I mean no.
True! There are principles at stake that one cannot surrender. Which of us should tell them? The task is not an easy one.
Do we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time for me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
A Christian name? Is that at all? But we're going to be Christians this afternoon.
For my sake, you're willing to do this terrible thing?
I am.
For me, you're willing to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
How absurd to talk about the equality of sexes. For questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They show moments of business trying to women know absolutely nothing.
Darling!
Darling.
Lady Bracknell!
Good heavens.
What does this mean? Merely that I'm engaged to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young, of physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father, I am glad to say, is under the impression that she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on both. I do not propose to undeceive her. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any question. I would consider it wrong. Of course, you will clearly understand that all communications between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment, on this point, as on all points I infer.
I'm engaged to be married to Gwendolyn.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now, as regards Algernon.
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
Is it in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
Oh, no. Bunbury's somewhere else at the moment. In fact, Bunbury's dead.
Oh, dead? When did he die? His death must have been extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed him this afternoon.
Oh,
I meant to die this afternoon.
what did he die of?
Bunbury? Oh, he quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I was not aware that Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he's well punished for his morbidity.
I meant that Bunbury was found out. The doctors found out Bunbury could not live, so Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. However, I am glad that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind at the last to some definite course of action, and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we've finally gotten rid of this Mr. Bunbury, Mr. Worthing, may I ask, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is now holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Moncrief and I engaged to be married.
I do not know whether there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air of London. I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea that any family's or person's origin was a terminus.
Miss Cecily Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, and the suburban, Fifeshire N.B.
That is not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
The court guides open to your inspection.
I have known strange errors in that communication.
Miss Cecily Cardew's family solicitors are Mercers Markby, and Markby.
Markby and Markby? A firm of the very highest in their profession. Indeed, I am told that one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally seen at evening parties. So far, I am satisfied.
Oh, extremely kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I have also, you will be pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cecily Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the English and the German variety.
Oh, a life crowded with incident, I see. Though perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl, I myself am not in favor of premature experiences. Gwendolyn, come, the time approaches for our departure. We've not a minute to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I had better ask if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. So good to have seen you.
Wait, a moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000? And in the funds? Miss Cardew is an extremely attractive young lady now that I look at her. Few girls of the present day have any really solid qualities. Any of the qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of services. Come, my dear. A pretty child. Your dress is sadly simple. Your hair seems almost as nature might have left it. But soon we can alter all of that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a really marvelous effect in a very brief space of time. I remember recommending one to young Lady Lansing, and after 3 months, her own husband did not know her.
After 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn round, sweet child. No, the side view is what I want. Yes. Quite as I expected, there are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points in our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. The chin, a little higher, dear. Style depends largely on the way the chin is worn. They're worn very high, just at present. Algernon.
Yes, Augusta?
There are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily is the dearest, sweetest, prettiest girl in the whole world. And I don't care tuppence about social possibilities.
Never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. But of course, dear, you must know that Algernon has nothing but his debts to depend upon. I do not approve of mercenary marriages. You see, when I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, but I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cecily, you may kiss me. Mwah. And you may address me as Aunt Augusta for the future. Thank you, Aunt Augusta. The marriage, I think, has better take place quite soon.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta. Just frankly, I myself am not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of finding out each other's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you, but I am Miss Cecily Cardew's guardian, and she cannot marry without my consent. The consent I absolutely decline to give.
Upon what grounds, may I ask? Algernon is an extremely, I may almost say ostentatiously eligible young man.
I'm sorry to speak like this in front of you. However, I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon. Impossible. He is an Oxonian.
I'm afraid there can be no possible doubts about the matter. During my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he obtained admission to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jouet Brut 1890 wine I've especially reserved it for myself. Continuing on his disgraceful deception, he succeeded in the course of the afternoon in alienating the affections of my only ward, and he subsequently stayed to tea and devoured every single last muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless was that he was perfectly well aware from the start that I have no brother, that I've never had a brother, that I've never intended to have a brother, not even of any kind. I specifically told him so myself this afternoon.
Ahem, Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I have decided to entirely overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
How extreme! Kind of you, Lady Bracknell. However, I still decline to give my consent.
Come dear. How old are you?
I'm really only 18, but I always admit to 20 at evening parties.
You are quite right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. What? Just 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties? Why, yes, it will not be long before you are free from the restraints of tutelage and of age. So I do not think that your guardian's consent is, after all, a matter of any importance.
I beg your pardon, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again. However, Miss Cecily Cardew, according to her grandfather's will, does not come of age until she is 35.
Well, that does not seem to me to be a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. London society is full of women of the very highest birth, who, of their own free choice, have remained 35 for years now. Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. I see no reason why our dear Cecily could not still be even more attractive at the age you mentioned than she is at the present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
You know I could.
I felt instinctively that you could, but I didn't know it all the time. I myself am not mindful, so I do expect punctuality in others.
Then what shall I do?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
My dear Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark which I am bound to say seems to me to show a somewhat impatient nature, I would beg of you to reconsider your decision.
But Lady Bracknell, the matter is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to me and Gwendolyn's marriage, I will gladly allow your nephew and my ward to form an alliance.
You must be quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that either of us would look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolyn. Algernon, of course, will choose for himself. Come, dear, we've already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more, might expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christenings, sir?
These two gentlemen have expressed their desire for immediate baptism.
Is that not somewhat premature? At their age? The idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he learned that was the way in which you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand that there are to be no baptisms at all this afternoon?
I'm afraid as things are now, there would be no use of them.
I am grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They say with heretical views of Anabaptists. Views I have since refuted in 4 of my unpublished studies. But, as your current mood seems more particularly secular, I will return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just been informed by the pew opener that for the past hour and a half, Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
A prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, I'm on my way to join her.
Pray, allow me to detain you for a moment. This may prove to be a matter of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, and very patient of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she holds in your household?
I
has been, for the last few years, Miss Leslie Carter's esteemed companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
She approaches. She is now.
Oh, I was told you expected me in the vestry, dear Cannon. I've been waiting for you there for an hour. Will you pause?
Prism!
Oh.
Come here, Prism. Where is that baby? 28 years ago, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104, up Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator containing a baby of the male sex. You never returned. A few weeks later, through the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was discovered by itself at midnight standing in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained the manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prism, where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I've been ashamed that I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the day that you mentioned, a date that's forever branded on my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out to this perambulator. I had also with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag, in which I had intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction that I had written during my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I never can forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where is that handbag?
Do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
This is a matter of no small importance. I must know where you deposited that handbag.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations.
Which railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton line.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolyn, you wait for me.
If you are not too long, I will wait here for you forever.
What do you think this means, Lady Bracknell? I dare not even suspect, Dr. Chauncey. I need hardly to tell you that in families of high position, strange coincidences like this are not supposed to occur. They're hardly considered the same. Uncle, that seems crazy. Your guardian has a very emotional nature. This noise is extremely it sounds as if you have alarmed. I swear arguments of any kind. They're always vulgar and often convincing. It has stopped.
This is the handbag, Miss Bridget. Please take care. The happiness of more than one life depends on your answer.
Oh, it seems to be mine. Yes, here's the injury received through the accepting of a gallows tree omnibus of younger and happier days. Oh, here's the stain on the lining, caused by the explosion of a tempered beverage. And this is another thread at Leamington. Oh, and here on the lock are my initials. I forgot that in an extravagant food I could have placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. It has been a great convenience being without it all these years.
Who was restored to you in that handbag, Miss Prism? I was the baby that was placed in it.
Oh! You!
Yes! Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I'm unmarried!
Unmarried? I do not doubt that is a serious blow. But cannot an act of repentance wipe out this folly? Why there must there be one law for men and another for women? Mother, I forgive you.
Oh, Mr. Worthing, there seems to be some error. There's the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell, I hate to seem inquisitive, but can you kindly inform me of who I am?
I am afraid to tell you that the news I have will not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently, Algernon elder brother.
Alger's elder brother? Then I do have a brother after all. I've always said I had a brother. Cecily, how could you have a doubt that I had a brother? Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. You scoundrel, Alger, you will have to treat me with more respect in the future. You've never treated me like a brother in all your life.
I was out to practice.
What's your name? What is your Christian name? Now that you've become someone else.
I'd quite forgotten that fact. Your opinion on my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change.
accepted my affections. What a noble nature you have, Quinlan.
Lady Bracknell, at the time I took place in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury that money could buy, including christening, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting house.
Then I was christened. That is settled. But what was my name? Tell me the worst.
Well, being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was his name?
I cannot at the present recall what the general's Christian name was. But I knew that he had one. He was eccentric, particularly in later years, and that was a result of the Indian climate and indigestion and marriage and other things of that kind.
Howdy. You would undoubtedly know of what his name, would you not?
Yes, but I was in your three times the man. He died before I was a year old.
Lady Bracknell, his name would appear in the army list of the period, would they not?
Well, the general was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I have no doubt that his name would appear in any of the military directories.
The army list of the last 20 years appear. His defective record should have been my constant study.
And generals, Malum, Maximum, Magni, what ghastly names they have. Mockby, Mixby, Montgomery, Lieutenant 1840, Captain Lieutenant Colonel, 1860 generals, Christian names,
Ernest John!
Yes! I recall now that the general's Christian name was Earnest. I knew I had a particular reason for this life in the name.
Gwendolyn, it has been a great tragedy for a man to find out he's been constantly telling the truth all these years. You know,
I can't wonder that you're sure of the change.
Gwendolyn!
Oh, Frederick, at last!
Alas!
Gwendolyn, at last!
My nephew! Seems to be displaying signs of triviality.
On the contrary, Aunt Augusta, I've now realized for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.